Let's paint a winterscape with some northern lights in the background. Hi there, welcome to my channel. Now I'll be demonstrating this painting using Scanson methine paper, which is of fine grain surface, and the painting size is going to be a quarter of this entire paper, which is 12 by 16 centimeters. And since this paper offers two different surfaces, I am going to use the fine grain surface. I'll be using a reference photo which I took from Pixabay, and you'll find the link to the photo in the description in case you want to check it out. Previously I did a colorful northern lights, and this time this is going to be a typical northern light with a much more defined shape, and I have filtered out my color palettes for this tutorial. And for your information, I'm using soft pastels from Zennelia. And you might want to stick the paper onto a cardboard so that you can adjust or move them while you work on your painting, especially when it comes to removing the pastel dust from the painting. So over here I have pre-sketched the landscape of the painting, and the land part or bottom part of the painting comes to about 1/3 of the entire painting size. So there's going to be a snow covered dark mountains in the background, as well as some snow covered foreground. So I'm going to kickstart painting the mountainscape using a darker brown shade, which falls into the category of sepia or burnt umber. Just lightly drawing the outlines of the mountain, and I'm going to give them a nice blend using my fingers. And notice the first two mountains on the left are not fully covered with the color because they are going to be covered with snow. So it is important to maintain some light areas on this drawing. Since the foreground is covered with snow, it's not going to be completely white, but I am going to apply some navy because I foresee it has a reflection from the bluish hint of sky. Not too much of it, just a little, giving it a light blend and also applying a little bit of white to brighten up the look of the navy color. Alright, time to work on the sky, and to kickstart I am using a bright green, just drawing out the outline of the very much defined shape of the auroras. Please take note that this may not be the finalized shape of the northern lights or auroras. I may make some changes as I blend in these colors. So I said this is soft pastel, so as you start blending in with other colors as well as the main sky color, the shapes may change. So the second color that I am applying for the northern lights is a very light green shade, almost like a sky blue. So I'd call it a cool green shade, as well as some light yellow, a little bit here and there where I notice has a yellowish hint. Alright, time to blend in these colors. So notice as I blend in these colors, I am following that cursive line shape, as well as dragging them upwards, blending them upwards so that it looks spread out instead of very static or stuck in one area, and it would resemble a better look of the northern lights shapes. Alright, I am going to use a bright blue shade or similar to a light cobalt blue as one of the main colors of the sky. And you can see here I am applying them in between those northern lights shapes that I have drawn earlier. Next, I am using a little bit of cool blue or similar to a sky blue shade and just applying it onto those cobalt blue. A little bit of violet into some part of the sky because the northern lights always add some purplish hint into the sky. So if some part of the mountain's color has stained the sky, worry not, we can adjust that in the final stages. Alright, since the sky needs to look much darker for the auroras to show, I am once again applying the navy. Some violet once again onto those navy color. More navy, so I need to darken this up and time to blend them in. I think I am happy with this dark sky color for now. Alright, time to fine tune those northern lights, and once again I am applying that cool green color that I've used earlier, just drawing in the outlines that are still visible from the first layer that I drew. So I am just going to redraw all those northern lights outlines using this pastel color. Next is the bright green that I used earlier as well. So basically I am just repeating the color palette that I used for the first layer of the Northern Lights drawing and just reapplying them. Alright then, time for blending. Notice that I am pulling those colors upwards as I mentioned earlier in the beginning of the tutorial, because you want them to look spread out as in the actual northern light look and not static in the sky. More fine tuning using that light yellow, as I noticed a yellowish hint based on the reference photo, so which is why I decided to add in more of this yellow. As I mentioned earlier, there's going to be repetitive use of the color palette in order to fine tune the look of the northern lights. Now I need to darken some part of the sky since it looks too bright. So I'm using back the same navy. So if you're happy with your Northern Lights color, you can leave it this way. But I just needed more of that green color hint, so I'm using the bright green once again. Now I am applying a little bit of cold blue into some part of the Northern Lights and sky. Now it's white pastel's turn to do its magic. Alright, time to focus on the other details of the painting. Kickstarting with the snow covered mountain, and I'm applying a little bit of pink onto those white areas of the mountain sketch as well as in the sky, because if you would have noticed, usually the Northern Light sky has got a hint of pink or purple in their sky, which is why I have decided to apply that into the sky as well as the white areas of the mountain, because there would be some reflection on it, and it also adds some interesting touch to the entire painting. I keep adding white as well in between since this is a snowscape, so we need more white to brighten up the look of the snow covered mountain as well as the foreground. I am using black to draw some details onto the mountain areas as well as other parts of the land like trees and dry woods or branches. At the same time, I am also trying to define some of those distant mountains that can look much darker. Removing some of those dark pastel dust because I don't want them to stain those snow areas. You can also wipe it using some clean cloth or towel as long as you don't accidentally blend them. Some impression of distant trees on the snow covered mountain using the same black. Now I am using Saphia to draw some of those loose branches or trees towards the foreground that is much nearer or lower bottom, because they can appear much brighter compared to the ones in distant. Adding a little bit of black onto those tree branches to create some contrast. Back to white to create some extra snow effect onto the tree branches especially. So at this point of time, I just felt that I needed more white impact onto the auroras or northern lights. So just applying here and there. So for some stars effect in the sky, I'm going to just scrape off a little bit of those white pastel using my knife. And I've used this technique in my previous Aurora painting as well. Just need to be extra careful when you're handling your knife. I've also seen this method used by other artists. Lastly, just tap on those white pastel scrap or dust so that it sticks onto the painting and not left with some loose white particles of the pastel. You can also create the snow effect using the same technique. And with this, I am done with the tutorial. So if you liked this tutorial, then I would recommend you to watch my other tutorial on painting a colorful northern light using the same soft pastel. I'll leave the link on the screen as well as in the description. And if you have become a fan of my work by now, then I would recommend you to like, share and subscribe to my channel, and hope to see you again in another exciting tutorial. Bye.